Okay, so everyone is like facing issue like how do we log in, right? See, go to the Swagger. Where is create new employee API. Okay. But while creating employee, we need to pass the role ID and the designation ID. So get check the data from this API, get all role. Let's say 4 role ID is try it out 4 over here. Then we need the designation ID 35. Okay. Then empty this array. Don't send empty object also. Empty array on skill and the experiences. Okay. Then username fill something. Then email ID. Okay. Test 45 at the rate gmail.com. Then we have password 112233. And mobile number also unique we need to send 0099009988. Okay. Execute. Employee created successfully. Now we can log in with this email. One one two two three three. Got it? Everyone, create the employee and
Yes,
use that credential to log in. Okay. Because see, as I said, the APIs are open, so someone might be using it. They might delete the user you have created or what I was using. So this email ID is not guaranteed that it will be present tomorrow also. Someone might use delete app and delete it also. Okay, fine. So yesterday we started this reusable component. So in reusable component, from parent component, we have to send the data to the child component. So that we can do by using input. Okay. So we created 3 component. That is alert, progress bar, and tab. In alert component, we have created 3 input: alert title, alert message, and the class name. And this input respectively, we use it over here also. Class name to bind the dynamic class, title over here, alert message over here. And when we use this component, we were passing all these parameters also like this. Okay. So whatever the variables we have created, we actually pass the data to that variable from the parent component. Then we created progress bar. In progress bar, we just needed the progress value. What is the dynamic progress? 90%, 50%, what value we have to give. So for that, we have to add a dynamic style. We have used ng style. Width, progress value plus unit also we need. And when we use it, we have passed the values like this. Okay. Then the third component we have seen is the tab one. How to render the dynamic tab. Okay. Here we have provided the array of basic, family, and contact. In client, we have passed the 5 array. Okay. Now, once I click on it, I need to send which tab I have selected, because then only you can use to hide and show the UI. Means, let's say if we go to the employee, let's say user clicked on, or here now, but here we don't have that proper. Okay. So let's say basic info is there. If I click on basic info, some basic info UI div should be shown. If I click on family data should be shown. If I click on contact detail should be shown. Right? At the time, only one tab should be selected, and whatever the tab we have selected, respective UI should be shown below. Right? So, and once we click on any particular tab, that tab should get highlighted. Okay. First task is we have to highlight the tab. How do we highlight the tab on click of it? How do we highlight it? Means we have to add a different class. Whatever the button we click, we need to add some class to this so that that button will look like a highlighted. How can we highlight this button on click of it button? What will be the logic? This is the HTML. Once user click on this button, instead of button primary, we need to add some another class to that particular button. How you will know which button got selected, which button got clicked? In task, we had a task similar to this. Right? In ng-for, we had task like this. Same scenario we have now, right? Wherever you click, that button should get selected like this. What will be the logic? Anyone? Try to think how you will get to know like which button got selected and how do you store that selection.
We do as enable or disable that particular button.
But how? What will be the condition? Well, no, you don't need to disable, na. We just need to add a dynamic color to that. Means, let's say by default it is primary. So we just need to add a dynamic success. See, like over here, we are not disabling it. We are just adding a dynamic color wherever, whatever the button you click, we're just adding dynamic class to that button. Same thing we need to achieve over here. Okay. How
Yeah.
you will do it? Anyone? Okay. Now let me explain you. In the client project, we will use that proper scenario. This is our real-time requirement also. See, when we talk about project, we have so much of data. Project employees, project detail, okay, project meeting. Once we create the project, so many related data is there regarding the project. See, first project data, okay, then project employee. What are the employees working on that project? Then project meetings, then project change, and then project payment also. So you can see so many information is there which is related to project. So let's say we created a project and once we open the project, there are so many information which we have to show. So instead of showing that one by below, we can create a tab structure like this. Okay. So that real time example we will see over here now. So let's say tabs array, we will see tabs array in the new component. Okay. String array is equal to empty. Project basic. Then we have employees working on the project. Meetings held for that project and change log. Okay. Now dot row dot call 3 app hyphen tabs. This is the component. Tab list is equal to tabs array we have passed. Okay. Now if we navigate to this, we are getting the tab. Let's say if I click on project list, I want to render a project, some UI I will render. Okay. Now coming back to our reusable component. Now this is the for loop we are using on the tab list. If I click on this particular button, how you will know like which button got clicked? On click of this button, how you will know that this particular tab got clicked? How you will know? How you will know which tab got selected? If I click on employee, how you will know that employee got selected? Hmm.
We have to pass item.
Item, na? See, this button is iterating. Once you click on this button, you have the item, na? So this item you can pass to this function. Now let's create this function. That's the logic. Tab string. Now we need to store this current selection. So we will create one variable selected tab or active tab. String is equal to by default empty. Whatever the tab user has selected, that value you will store into this variable. Okay. Let's print this also. See now. Getting it? Where user is clicking, that value we know in this variable. Understood? Now we just need to add a dynamic class over here. If for loop variable value and this variable value is same, we need to add something different color. Correct? For loop variable value and the value in this variable, if it is same, we need to add a different color. Otherwise, primary color. That's the logic. Because you know what button has selected. So in the for loop also, in item also, we have that value. So if item is equal to this variable value, then we need to add a different color. Okay. See now, instead of hard coding this value, let's add a ng class. Dynamic class we are going to add square bracket ng class. Now condition will be if item equal to active tab. Means value for loop item is equal to active tab question mark this class, otherwise this class. btn primary, and here if it is active, same class name is there, success. See now. If I click on employee, see. Understood? This was the logic for this. You need to know what is the current selection, which button user has clicked. You need to store that into variable. Then that variable you will use it over here with the condition. If whatever the button is iterating, if that value is equal to this, means currently user has clicked this particular button. So if this condition gets satisfied, this class will get added on that particular button, otherwise this class. So at a time only one button will have this class, otherwise all the button will have this class. Understood this logic? There will be multiple scenarios where we need this logic while working on the project. So many places you will be able to see this. Understood? Okay. Now we know which tab is selected. Now from this component, from tab component, we need to emit the value, like which tab got selected. Then in the parent component, you will show the UI of meeting or employee, right? So we need to emit the data. Means if I change the tab, I need to inform the parent component that my tab got changed. Then only I will hide and show over here. Correct? Let's say if I click on employee, so here employee page should be, employee data should be visible. If I click on change log data should be visible. If I click on project basic, project data should be shown over here. So if I change the tab in the child component, I need to inform the parent component, like what's the tab current selected. Based on that, I will show and hide. Na? So this value, whatever the current tab name is, that value I need to send back to the parent component. Means project component, I want to send the selected value. So now to send the data from child component to the parent component, we have to make use of output. Okay. Output. To send the data from parent to child, we make use of input. And vice versa. To send the data from child to parent, we have to make use of output. Okay. Now, how do we create an output? So at the rate output on tab change. This is my function name. Means output name is equal to. It's not a variable. It's a event kind of data. New event emitter. What kind of data you are going to send? String type of data. So that's why string, round bracket, semicolon. This is the syntax. At the rate output round bracket, your output name is equal to new event emitter. Then what type of data you are going to send? Currently, obviously string data we have. So that we are going to send. So this is how you create the output. Okay. Now in this function, we get to know like when the tab got changed. So here, this dot output, that is on tab change dot emit value. Emit function is there, which will help you to emit the value. So this tab, whatever the tab currently selected, that we are passing it back. Okay. In your child component, you create output like this. And when you want to send the data back to the parent component, in that function, you will use this dot output dot emit. And while emitting, you are passing the data. Okay. Now in your parent component, if you see over here, see, it is showing in the round bracket. What does get shown in the round bracket? What do we use in round bracket? What do we use in round bracket? What is it in round bracket?
Event binding.
Event, right? So on tab change is nothing but an event which is going to emit once you click on it. Okay, just like your click event, change event. When user use the mouse and click on it, then that event get triggered. Now here we have our custom event. When user click on the button, in select event, we are emitting this event. Okay. So now once this event get triggered, we have to call a function from our parent component. Tab changes. Okay. And while emitting the event user from child component, we are passing some value also. Now to catch this value, we have to write over here $event. Every time $event only. Doesn't matter what you are passing from your child component. To catch that, every time you have to write $event only over here. Now this function you will create in your parent component. Okay. And since while calling this function, we are passing some parameters. So we need to hold that also over here. Selected tab name data type string. Okay. Here we will create one variable to store the selection. Current tab data type string is equal to empty. Whatever the value you get, that you will store over here. Selected tab. Guys, be on mute. Let's add a debugger. Abhishek, be on mute now. Okay. Here also I'm adding a debugger. In tab component also I'm adding a debugger. Now just see the flow, how it is behaving. Then only you will understand this. Okay. Once I click on the button, my child component event will get triggered. Okay. On tab select event from the child component. Okay. We got the tab employee. Okay. Now I'm emitting this event output, but while emitting, I'm passing the value also employee. So once I continue from over here, see my respective event from the parent component got triggered. And in over here, we got the employees. So the data you send from tab component, you are able to receive into the parent component. And then you are storing that into a variable. See, change log. Child component event got triggered. And while emitting the output, we are passing child change log. Once I continue, in the parent component, you are getting it. Understood? So from child component, if you want to send some data, you have to send it along with the event. Not like just, we cannot send it like a property directly, like how we used to do with input. To send the data from child component to parent component, we can pass the data with the help of output, that is event. Okay. Now we can use this variable. So in parent component, this is the variable which we get, right? So now this variable, I can use it over here. Let's say div class row at the rate if this where current value is equal to how many different values we are supposed to get? Project basic. If it is project basic, we will show project data. Currently, we don't have the UI. Again, at the rate if else if current tab equal to second tab name is employee. Employee. We have not created the component, but once we create the component selector will be rendered over here. Okay. But for now, just to illustrate the example, we are going like this. Meeting. And this is the last row. So we can use directly at the rate else or else if also. But by default, one tab we need to select. Okay. That also we will do. This will be change lock. Okay. See now. So by default, it will go to the else block. Once I click project logic, project employee, see project data employee. Understood? So now imagine like instead of the single text, you will have the different form visible. If I click on the project data will be available. If I click on employees, a table will be shown. If I click on meetings, that again table will be shown for the meeting employee. Getting it? So this is the actual reusable component we have. Are you able to imagine the whole picture? Currently, I have just shown a text, but here, in case of project detail, whole project data will be shown over here. In case of employee, a table of employees working on this project will be shown. In case of meeting, all the meetings happen for this particular project will be shown over here. Clear? We will work on this page, but for now, try to imagine that. Understood?
Yes, sir.
What's the problem over here? Whatever the logic we have written. On click of it, everything is working fine, right? But on the page load, at least one tab should be selected.
We
By
have
default,
set
some,
the active tab as a null value, so we need to give some
right?
specified value.
So we can see at least first tab, we can set it as a true. Okay. Here also in the parent component. No. Yeah. In the parent component, I'm setting this first value as a selected. And in the child component also, whatever the value you get. Okay. Once you get the value over here, in tab list, you get the array, right? So once page loads or in the constructor also. Okay, one more thing I wanted to explain over here. Constructor also we will do console.log. Let's try to print the tab list. This dot tab list. Okay, in the child component, I am trying to print the tab list in the constructor. Okay, let's see. See now. In tab list, are we able to see the data? We printed the data right here, but tab list is not printed over here in the constructor. Okay. Now same thing we will try with implements on init. This is an intro question. Okay. And same console I'm printing on ng on it also. Okay. See what is happening. So this is your constructor tab list. At the constructor, we are trying to access the variable in this tab list. Okay. And in ng on it also we are trying to access. So when we are at the constructor, tab list value is not initialized yet. So that input value, we are not able to access it. But in ng on it, we are able to access it. Why is it like this? Why in the constructor, I'm not able to access the variable value? And in the ng on it, we are able to access? What might be the reason? In constructor, we are not able to access the variable value, but in NGOnit, we are able to access the variable value. Normally, and let's create a variable course name :string is equal to Angular. Okay. Now again, same variable, I will print it in console also. Okay. And in NGOnit also. Now see the difference. In constructor, course name variable I'm able to access here also and here also. But why tab list I'm not able to access in constructor and I'm able to access in NGOnit? What might be the reason?
Because it's a
At the
class
rate-
only.
Component
At the
not
rate
inside.
input.
Yeah, it's an input. So see, when does constructor get executed? Constructor कब execute होता है?
When object.
Once
Class,
you are-
whenever class is created. initially.
Whenever your class object is created, not class created. This is a
Oh,
class.
yes,
So
of
whenever
course.
class object or instance is created, then your constructor get initialized, right? But your component is not initialized yet. When does component get initialized? On NGOnit. So that's why input value we are not able to access in the constructor, but in NGOnit we will be able to access it. Clear? So this is an intro question. Let's say you are working on a reusable component and you want to access an input value on the page load or that component load. So where you will access it? So it will be in NGOnit. In the constructor, that input value is not initialized yet. In the NGOnit only, you can access the values of the input. Understood? Okay. Fine. So now, instead of doing that over here, so this is the variable which will decide like which tab is activated. So what we need to do, what will be the logic first? By default, first tab should get selected. What will be the logic? How you will do it?
Array the zeroth object will be active.
But how you will do it?
List.
What should I write?
Um,
That's the logic I'm asking. No? Whatever the first element we have, that we need to make it active. So when this component load, this should have that different color. How do you do that?
active tab is equal to tab list
Right?
of
This dot active
0.
tab is equal to your tab list. First element. That's it. See? And project dot also available over here. Understood? Clear? So this is your actual reusable component, which is very famous while working on the project. Clear? So input we use to send the
Yes, sir.
data from parent to child. And if you want to send the data from child to parent, you use the output. Output is nothing but an event. We create the output like this. And while emitting the data, we can pass the data also. While emitting this output, we can pass the data. But this is optional, okay? If you just need to send the data, then only you send it. Otherwise, you cannot send also. This is optional. Okay? And in the parent component, you write it like this in the event. And whatever the data, you need to write the event, $event, to catch the data you are getting it from this event. And you get it over here. Understood? Clear?
Yes.
Okay. Let's take one more example. Now, as I said yesterday, oh my God, meeting. Sorry, today I just used the normal meeting. Let me start another meeting. Please join again. Otherwise, this will stop. Do join again. Okay. Okay. So just to again understand input and output, most famous example will be your reusable button component. Okay. So when I talked about yesterday, like when we actually work on the project and a project where reusable components are getting used. So button is the most famous one. Okay. You won't be able to find button anywhere. Wherever you are using the button, that will be a reusable component only. Okay. So let's try to create one reusable button component. ng generate component my button. Okay. Now tell me this is my button. Now how many inputs and how many outputs we'll be needing? First of all, how many inputs we'll be needing over here? If I want to create a reusable button, what data you will be passing to this component?
Name, event, and classes.
What data you will pass? Okay. Think properly. What data you will pass over here? How many inputs we will be needing? First of all, button name. Right here, we need to show something. Na? What's the button name? Right. So that's the first input. @input from bracket button text. Okay. Data type will be string only. Okay. Whatever the value you get, that you will display over here. Second input. What again we need?
Click event.
Hmm?
Click event.
No, how you click is a event. Na event we cannot pass. Only values you can pass. This is the button. You pass the text. What else you will need it over here? You will need a class, na? Do you need a primary button, success button, warning button, danger button? You will need a class? Yes or no? अरे बटन कौन से कलर का दिखना चाहिए वो भी बताना पड़ेगा ना. Whenever you create a reusable something, everything should be dynamic. Nothing should be static, correct? So my button classes should be also dynamic. Now I should be able to configure the button also. What color of button I need? So over here, class will be first BTN class will be static. After that, we need a dynamic class like BTN primary, BTN success like that. So we will need one other input button class name. Yes or no? You are getting or no? This class name, whatever the value you get, that you will use it. Again, we will need ng class also. Ng class, your variable name. This is your reusable button. We will be passing the button text and the button class name. Okay. And that we are using it over here. Now, pages in the client. In the client, we have this button at the top, add client. Okay. So over here, app, my button. Okay. See, when I select like this, import will be automatically added over here. See, currently tabs is there. If I select from the IntelliSense, see, import has been automatically added. Okay. Don't get in the assumption like I'm directly writing in the HTML and I'm not importing it. So once you select that from IntelliSense, the import will be automatically added. Okay. Now for this reusable component, we have two input, button text. Now string value. So add client. Okay. Then we need second input, square bracket class name. So let's say I need primary button. So BTN class is already there. We just need to pass primary over here. So see now. This button is coming from your reusable component, and this is from your parent component only. If I inspect, see this add button is coming from your reusable component. Understood? Now, wherever you need the button in your parent, in your whole application. So instead of writing button, you just have to use the reusable component like this. And you want to pass, you have to pass the value, what button value should be there and what color you need. So you can pass the color name, class name. Understood? Inputs are clear in case of reusable button component. Yes or no? Okay. Now it's a button. So obviously, once you click on this button over here in the child component, on the parent also you need the callback. Just like over here on click of button, we are opening the model pop-up. Same thing should happen when you click on this button also. But this button is in your child component. So once this button click, parent component, you need to inform that button got clicked, then you will open the model pop-up, right? So now over here in the child component, you have to create an output at the rate output, round bracket on btn click is equal to, what do we need to store over here on output? What do we store? Event emitter, na? New event emitter. What are we passing any data while emitting? Do we need to pass some data back to the parent component? Is there any data we need to pass with the output to the parent component? In tab component, there was a need. Which tab is getting selected that we need to pass. But in button component, do we have to pass any data?
No.
There is no data. No? We just want to inform the parent component that button got clicked. So it doesn't matter what you write it over here. But as it's, we have a syntax like that. So we need to pass the data type. Okay. Now click event over here. btn clicked. Okay. Now we will create this local function. Now from this function, we will just emit the on button click output. Emit. That's it. We don't need to pass any data. We don't have any data. Now what you are going to pass? You just need to inform the parent component that button got clicked. Okay. Now this reusable component has 2 input and 1 output. So when you are using it over here, see output is coming. So on click of it, you just need to call this function, open model function. That's it. Because on this button also, if you click on this button, this function you are calling. Now in case of reusable component, once this input get triggered, output get triggered, you need to call this function. So respective model will open. See now. This is your reusable component. On click of it, see model is opening. Understood? So you are just emitting the output. And here you are just catching that output callback. Once this event got triggered from your child component, you are triggering this event. Same thing was happening over here also. This was your default event, click event. This event is getting triggered from your reusable component. Understood? So wherever in your application you need the button, so you will use this button. Instead of going with normal input type button, you will go with this reusable component. Now, again, coming back to the our logic, like why do we need a reusable component? First of all, what's the use of reusable component? What's the use of reusable component? Why do we create a reusable components?
We don't
With
need to
code
repeat
repetition.
Code
Every
repetition,
time.
right? Code should
Yeah.
not get repeated. But now if you see over here, this is also one line code and this is also one line code. So what code we have saved over here? Did we save any code? In reusable component also, we just have a single line. If you directly, instead of writing this button tag over here, you could have written this also over here. This looks the same, right? Then why to unnecessary create button? Why to pass the data like this? This looks very easy, na? Yes or no?
But we need to do
Yes.
multiple component, no?
But multiple component also you will use this only, na? In multiple component also you need to add this line also, or you will add this line, one and the same thing. Only one line you are
There is a
adding.
static, but it is a static thing. We need to achieve, like we can achieve a dynamic thing also, like the help of this.
But same thing, why you need to pass a value to this? Same thing you can add it over here, na? This is very quick, right? This is easy or this is easy? What is easy?
Second option.
This is easy, na? Right? Then my question is, why do you need a reusable button component? We need the reusable component. I'm saying that. My question is, why do you need a reusable component then? Why projects might be creating a reusable button component also? What might be the thought process behind that? Because
So
if
like
we
if
see, it
you-
doesn't make any sense. We don't have so much big HTML which is going to be repeated. It's a one line code only, right?
So like if same kind of functionality we need it in different components.
What
So we
functionality?
can
Here we don't have any functionality, na? What do we have here? Do we have any functionality? Nothing, na? Simple button is there. Nothing functionality, right?
so like same kind of button operation that we are doing, right? So like
See,
normally.
no. When we work on a project, okay, every project has some UI combination theme. Yes or no? Like color should be like this. Label should be like this. Means every project follows some UI guidelines, some theme it follows, correct? So when we talk about any particular project now, what button you can use that are also fixed. Means color I'm talking about, theme. So instead of passing this currently, just to implement this, we pass the color name. But normally in reusable component, we cannot pass the class name. There it is like, instead of class name, what do we have? @input button type. Okay. Data type string is equal to this. Now in button type, we have to pass, do I need a primary button? Do I need a secondary button, or do I need a danger button? So when we work on a project, only 3 or 4 types of buttons are allowed. Primary, secondary, danger, like that. So there is a restriction on what kind of color button you can use. If you don't put that restriction, anyone can use any type of color, then your theme will break, na? So to add that restriction, you ask everyone to use this component only. And now instead of passing the class name, what you will do, you will pass the type, primary, secondary, like that. Then over here, you need to add a dynamic button, like dynamic. If it is a primary, now instead of directly, now we don't have a class name variable. Now what we are going to get? Type. In type, we will get primary or secondary or danger or something. Let's say in our application, only 3 buttons are allowed: primary, secondary, and danger. Okay. So we will get this 3 value. So if button name is primary, we have to add button primary class. If secondary type we got, so we have to add button secondary class. So now here we need to add multiple classes, but with multiple condition also. Okay. So the best easy solution will be, we will have multiple if else. So @if type button type is equal to primary. So we will render button with btn primary class. Okay. Just like that. if it is secondary. Let's say primary is our success, secondary is our secondary, that gray color button. And finally else block, or let's add a danger over here. And if user don't send anything, we will show the our blue button, that is primary. Or we can have that without this color also button get rendered, right? So this will be secondary only. One more for the danger. And finally else block. We have a button, but without any class, just a normal button will be there. Okay. So now we have changed our button logic. Instead of sending the class, we are going to pass primary, secondary, and danger. Okay. So now in your parent component, instead of passing like this, square bracket, button type is equal to primary. Like this you pass. Okay. So see, your primary button is coming. If you pass secondary, gray button you got. If you pass danger, danger button you got. Let's say someone use the button and don't pass this input, but button will come, but without any class. See. Okay. So this is how you hard code, means this is how you restrict developer to use certain buttons only. So now let's say some new developer came, he cannot go and directly pass the color name. He has to pass primary, secondary, or so there is a restriction. Everyone has to follow some UI theme. Now got the reason why we have to create the reusable button. Now in this case, there is no reusability, but there is on a project level, we wanted to add some restriction on the button, like what type of button you can use. Clear? Again, we can, instead of passing here, we are passing a string value, but here also we create that constant and constant dot, that whatever the options are there, that we can provide over here. I will showcase that in some days. Now it will be so many things will be explaining in a single day. Again, we can here, again is a string value. User can pass anything. He might think, let's say a new developer is there. He can think like I can pass anything. But again, we can restrict this also. Instead of passing directly string value, that value should come from your constant also. Okay. Or enum we create. That's the use of enum also. Okay. For now, I'm not telling it. Where again, we can restrict this also. Fine. Understood?
Yes, sir.
Okay. So those
अभी
who
कहाँ
are
सकते हैं
sorry. So those
अभी
who
कहाँ सकते करते हो कहाँ सकते हो
Hari, you are talking.
oh sorry sorry
Okay. So those who are going to appear for more than 5 years of experience, this kind of question might came. See, when I told when we start about reusable, so everyone is going to know that you know the input and the output because you are preparing for the interview, so you might have by heart this. But now questions are not like that. They are asking the round questions. So why do you need the reusable component? They are going to ask this question, then they will ask like input and output. Because they need to filter out the good candidate. Na? Anyone can give the good interview by learning all the answer, right? But if you are actually a developer and you have learned all the Angular and you have actually worked, you will understand what is reusable component and why do you need it. So they are going to ask you that questions also. If your experience is 3 to 4 years now, what is input, what is output, that is okay. But after that, now questions are changing right now. Okay. So whatever you are learning, whatever the topic you are understanding, make sure you understand it properly, why we need those topics, why are those topics are there. Okay. Understood? Shall I explain reusable table? Quick one. Or tomorrow? Or means Monday.
Yes, sir.
Okay. Let's discuss that on Monday. Understood everyone? The reusable components. Again, there are so many ways of reusable component. 4 we have seen according to our project need. But again, there are so many things we can create in a reusable component. Now, almost no one is fresher over here. Everyone has worked on a project, right? Now, try to remember the projects you have worked, and you might understand the UI also, some UI which was repeated again and again. So try to think that UI, and you, instead of creating that UI again and again, you could have moved that reusable UI, that means repeated UI, into a reusable component also. Okay. Fine then. Let's connect on Monday and make sure like Saturday, Sunday is there. So complete, do the practice of reusable component. And go to visit my YouTube channel also. So many reusable component I have created. Okay. I will share the playlist of that also, and just follow that, because when you see so many example of reusable component, then only that idea get clear. Ki where and why why do we need a reusable component? What are the inputs we might be needing according to the scenario? Okay. Fine. Anyone having any question now? Anyone? Any question? Okay, start working on the project. Let me know if you face any difficulty. And those who are not able to log in, just create an employee from the Swagger and use that credential to log in. APIs are working fine. Okay. Fine. Let's connect on Monday.
Thank you, sir.
Bye all.